That's right. We are live, coming from the GameDay studio in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. I just wanted to say that.
Let's go.
It's actually beautiful today.
Yeah, because 91 is not 110.
Yesterday it was 85 when I got off the plane, and well, the pilot says it's 85 degrees in Vegas, and I was so shocked. I'm like,
What was it, 3 in the morning?
no, it was like 5. I'm like, how is it still 85 degrees? Like, this is amazing. I'll take it.
It is. Guys, we're here each and every Monday with you for the GameDay Huddle, episode number 35.
Love it.
35. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. And, of course, we hope that the fathers out there enjoyed their Father's Day, and happy Juneteenth to everybody. What a weekend. It started early, though. We thought we were going to get a game last night. Everybody thought there was going to be a game last night. Klay Thompson didn't close it out. He didn't, right? But the Warriors are your champions of the NBA. They took it down in Boston with a very, very raucous crowd. And let's be fair, that is a very, very sour town right now for the Warriors.
Well, the Warriors even complained about how sour they were, saying that they were kind of classless and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
to do it in Boston, like you listened, right? That you didn't parlay a bunch of crap, did you?
No, I took the Warriors. Yeah.
I felt like the sports books were giving you a gift the entire week. Once Game 1 happened and Boston won, that set up the rest of the series to where it was like I felt like the sports were just giving away free money. Games 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were all very predictable on what was going to happen. You could kind of tell, like when Boston was complaining about the officials, you knew the officials would sway their way. You knew that Golden State was going to win at home and they were going to close it out. You could just tell. I felt like it was very easy money.
Now, if you guys recall, we had a conversation where we talked about what the the top superstar moving forward in the playoffs was, right?
Yeah.
And we had Jason Tatum in there. After this series, would Tatum have been in that conversation with you guys?
I still think that he's bona fide superstar. He's probably the next guy that everybody's going to be looking at to lead the league. You know, he's still young. When is he? 23 years old.
Of course,
years old.
right.
Like the kid's. Yeah, he didn't show up the last 3 games of the series, but every other series throughout the whole playoffs, it was his game.
I think we get caught up sometimes in anointing the next Michael Jordan, and then it's the next Kobe Bryant, and then it's the next LeBron James, and instead of comparing them to these superstar figures, he can still be a superstar. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be the next LeBron where they just take over an entire series
Right, of course.
and put the whole team on your back. I think that's what we kind of run into sometimes. I think the guy's a stud, and I think he'll be a superstar, like Jimmy said, and I think the guy's got a bright future, but I don't think he's ever going to be like a LeBron James. Where
Let me pose this question to you guys, because I think that this is a fair assessment right now. Booker or Tatum?
I'm taking Tatum.
Why?
I'll take Tatum also.
Because he got them there?
No, just because he's younger, he's bigger, he's more of the prototypical
Trey or
basketball.
Tatum?
I'm still taking Tatum.
Okay.
I think Tatum, if I was starting a team today, I think he would be in the probably top 2 that I would pick up.
Who would you take one?
Probably Joel Embiid.
Okay.
I don't know. I like.
So you're gonna take Tatum over Luka, Ja. Who am I missing that should be in this top echelon immediately? I know I'm missing names.
Jokic?
I guess Joker, Anthony Edwards. Who else would we start considering
Even
in the
over
top?
Zion,
Even over Zion.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting take. I think, yeah.
100%.
No, yeah, for sure. It's an interesting take, though, if you start to think about this, because he did have that kind of falling out run in the playoffs. He didn't show up in spots earlier in the playoffs for them, and Jaylen Brown bailed him out, right, in some of those spots. It's an interesting thing, because I think that Boston's built very well. I believe Boston will be back in the discussion next year. I think they're a very good team, and defensively, we might be looking at maybe a top 2 or 3 defensive team of all time, right?
They definitely
They're
play defense.
very
they can
good.
hold the Warriors to under 100 or under 110, 115 points every single game.
Every game went under.
Yeah,
Right.
they didn't score.
No,
so it wasn't like they were outscoring them.
It's just when they had scoring opportunities, they didn't miss.
Right?
And that was the thing. That's the thing. And that team is nasty because of it. And let's talk about, I mean, we should have already said that going to be a starter in the All-Star game should have given us the indication of what people really thought of Andrew Wiggins. But let's talk about coming out party for Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
Boy, are people in Minnesota pissed, right? They are
Look how many
pissed.
guys Minnesota's had, though.
Yeah, I know.
That
Yeah.
just came through the. If
I
they would
know.
have just held on to, like, just some of these pieces.
Well,
my God.
think about him with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and like, oh my gosh. But no, seriously, the guy was unreal. He played incredible defense. He scored when they needed him to. He was exactly where he needed to be. And you know what he did? He took Draymond from having to be a thug because he was able to get physical as well as Draymond, and it gave them two physical presence on the court.
But the problem is that with Wiggins, like I think that his time in Minnesota, he had to be like the guy.
Of course.
And in Golden State, he doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
He's a role player.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you now, I loved Chris Bosh when he was with Toronto.
Yeah.
I thought the best Chris Bosh was with the Heat.
Oh, yeah, because he didn't have to be the guy.
Right, when he didn't have to be the guy.
It's all the pressure's off of you. You
Absolutely.
go play your game. When you're in a different place and you're supposed to be the guy, of course, you don't need that pressure.
Yeah, Game 5 for Wiggins was his coming out party.
It was.
I was, number 1 overall pick at one
Right.
point. I'm going to show you I can still play this game.
I mean, it definitely helped the hobby. The hobby was excited for him. Jordan Poole had already been on people's radar.
Yeah.
I don't know how Wiggins lasted as long as he did to get on people's radar because, again, and I know there was the joke that there was the K-pop band member that told all of his followers, 15 million followers or something like that, to go vote for Wiggins in the All-Star game, right? And they did on Twitter. But seriously, the guy deserved to be there.
Yeah.
That's it. He deserved to be there. He played like an all-star this year. He was an all-star. And definitely it's well-deserved. Now, talk about guys that do want to be the guy.
Assist for Green. Curry a long three. That's good! Steph Curry from way downtown. Some Curry chaos here in the third. It's the largest lead of the game. Ridiculous.
Shots, like here, he was dumbfounded.
Range unlimited.
Like just blows his
Mama,
mind. This was
there goes
actually-
that man, and then says, put a ring on it. And the previous
this was
play,
possession
moving without the rock. Draymond Green does his job,
did
setting
whatever
the
he
screen.
wanted and didn't miss.
You have to have help. And like I said, looking for a ring. Number 4, that is.
Unbelievable.
And then you see Steph pointing to the ring finger because, as we talked about, it was so chippy in Boston. The Boston fans were borderline like nasty,
They're
right?
borderline Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Not
I really was gonna say that. I just so
They were
thank you.
borderline Philadelphia. Yeah, go ahead.
But so we end up going and seeing this guy take over. He put it down, and Steph didn't talk to the crowd that much, but he heard the chirping. But when it was time, he let them know, and I absolutely love that. That's an iconic moment. I want a T-shirt. And I'm not a big basketball guy. I don't wear a lot of basketball stuff. I don't, I like the Jazz. Of course, I'm never going to see a team win, right? And watching him point to the ring, I almost want a T-shirt of him pointing to the ring finger.
It was like Aaron Donald did.
Keep looking, haters.
Donald
Keep looking.
His, and Steph knew he was going to get the MVP. Like he hadn't had a Finals MVP.
Exactly.
He got it.
He said he was motivated for it.
I love the lavender shoes. Did anybody else like the shoes?
He went back to those.
Yeah.
So in Game 5, when he was shooting terribly, he had different shoes on. He went back to the lavender. He didn't make a shot the rest of the game, but then he obviously wore it for Game 6. And
Yeah.
Can you imagine what those shoes will be worth?
Yeah. I thought it was
Those
pretty
shoes,
sweet.
they might set a modern record,
Yeah.
right? I would think.
They're a lot better than his dad's shoes that he came out with a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The ones everyone was making fun of, the whatever they were, the New Balance or whatever.
Yeah. So one of the pictures for Father's Day did that. Did you
Yeah, I
see
seen that. Cishek.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Cishek got his New Balance shoes,
He calls them his dad's
shoes.
dad's shoes. And had to make them into cleats.
Turned them into spikes and pitched for them. So great. And by the way, if Cishek, if you don't follow him on Twitter, he's a great follow. Great follow.
Great,
Guy's
yeah.
funny. Guy's funny. The Warriors were the underdog, not in the playoffs because they kind of became the favorite. Going into the playoffs, they were an underdog. But going into the season, they were literally the second to last team. You could have got the Warriors, and people did, for absolute ridiculous numbers because everybody was like, Clay won't be back till halfway. They were a dumpster fire. They barely made the playoffs. They probably shouldn't have been there.
Green's looking old.
Right, Green looks old. They, little did they know Jonathan Kuminga was going to go off. You know what I mean? Like, Kuminga was late first rounder.
Yeah.
And Kuminga might have been one of the best picks out of the draft last year.
Their young players carried them through the season.
Absolutely. Jordan Poole was awesome.
And Wiggins, throughout the regular season, they got carried by those three guys.
Yeah, because you had Steph was hurt for a while. You had, so being underdogs, like in sports, it really got me thinking, right? And I'm like, is this the best underdog basketball team to win a championship? It might be. The one I would think of was Dirk's championship, right, with Dallas. It was literally him and 5 guys bagging groceries 3 weeks before.
Who was on that team? You're
Michael
Redd.
No, it was JJ Barea.
Yeah, JJ Barea was
point guard.
yeah, he was. But if you remember, Dirk went off.
Yeah.
Dirk went off, and he kept going off. And Dirk also played probably the best defense he ever played his entire career. Because half his career he didn't want to play defense.
Did they have Sean Marion on that team too?
Yeah.
At the end of his career.
At the end of his career, Sean Marion was on his career.
He made some big shots in that, Marion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
They were a wily veteran crew, but they were guys that literally were cast-offs from other teams. It's really what they were. So maybe that team, but man, what a run. Incredible. Congratulations to them. But it got me thinking, and what it got me thinking, guys, was about baseball. Because I was thinking about the Braves last year, and I'm like, we just had an underdog win the World Series last year. And I was like, wait, were the Braves the best underdog team? Like, were they, were they is that the most underdog team that won the World Series? Got me thinking. I found this list. I thought this was interesting. So here's the top 10 Major League Baseball underdogs to win the World Series. You had the 91 Minnesota Twins at number 1. Interesting team. This was that team that I think Jack Morris just went off and had that classic World Series matchup against John Smoltz.
He pitched like 10 innings. He just kept going. They never brought a relief.
Yeah, he threw a 10 inning complete game.
Yeah.
Smoltz, I believe, had a no-hitter going into like the 9th or something.
That was one of the times the
right?
Braves were heavy favorites.
No
one picked the Twins to win.
No, the Twins weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And then they do this. So you kind of forget about it because it's the Twins.
Yeah.
The second one is the team that first came to mind for me, which was that 2003 Florida Marlin team.
Yeah, with Jeff Conine.
And that's the Josh Beckett and
they had 2.
what was the lefty?
Johnson. Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson was on the team, right? Fun team. That team just really, their run to the playoffs was great. I know that's a heartbreaker for you, Jimmy, because you're a Yankees fan. That was a tough one.
We've won so many. Give or
that
take.
That was a tough one, though, because there you go again. Yankees come into it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yankees come in, and they were a monster favorite, right? Monster favorite that year. Number 3, Twins show back up. This was the Herbeck year.
Yeah.
Right? Which, by the way, Herbeck literally was the guy that you find at the cigar lounge, right? And they would tell him it's game time, and he'd be like 5:45, game time's at 7. He's like, finishes his cognac and goes and hits 3 jacks.
Yeah.
Like, that's who he was.
He epitome of a physical specimen.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Him and Steve Balboni at the time were the guys, right? Like, number 4, which is a great team in my opinion. I thought this is a better team than to be on this list. The 2002 Anaheim Angels. You had Garrett Anderson on this team.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was a great team, right?
Yeah, I actually went to the World Series that year in Anaheim, and they had remember the rally monkey?
The rally monkey.
And he would come on, he would go, and everybody would start, and he'd do this, and everybody's jumping in the crowd. That was probably the funnest game I've ever been to. I'm not even a fan of the Angels, but just because the atmosphere, everybody's swinging monkeys in the air.
They would put the monkey on the Jumbotron,
100%.
Yeah, I remember that. Even during the regular games, they would do that. So it got the whole crowd hyped.
It was awesome.
Rally monkey was great. You had last year's Atlanta Brave team, which, if you go and you think about this Atlanta Braves team last year, we easily forget the MVP was Soler.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you
I didn't remember that.
forget that this is the guy that, you know what I mean? You had guys like, Ozzy Albies and these guys had incredible series. Cunha didn't even play. Didn't even play.
He didn't play in the playoffs.
Freddie Freeman looked amazing.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting there, we're thinking this was such an underdog team. And now you look at the Braves this year, without Freeman, they did pick up Olsen. They're doing incredible. And now you start wondering, maybe that team is a lot better and constructed a lot better than we realized. Kind of reminds me of some of those Giants teams, which we'll get to in a minute. 6 was the 2015 Kansas City Royals. That team, all they did was run.
Yeah.
Every time I watched them play, someone was circling the bases as fast as they could.
It's hard to remember that the Royals won a World Series like that recently.
Yeah.
Like Zach Greinke was their ace.
Yeah. Greinke. Then you have the 2010 San Francisco Giants. That was the Giants team that really was not supposed to be in the playoffs. That team played out of their minds. They were way ahead. That was probably Bruce Bochy's best managing job.
Yeah. Posey was
Unreal.
unreal.
And Pablo Sandoval was...
Yes.
Pablo was...
The Panda.
The Panda was crazy in that series. That series, remember, that got him a ridiculous contract with the Red Sox that he never fulfilled any of it.
No.
Unbelievable guy, fell off after that. 2013 Red Sox, of course that's going to be considered an underdog. I mean, they went,
100 years without winning?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they had to win 3 straight just to... against your Yankees, and they had to do it in the Yankee Stadium, and it was raucous, and it was
Bloody Sock World Series.
It was,
right?
yeah. And you got the Bloody Sox series and all that, so that was crazy. The 2014 Giants, when they rolled it back, that team also wasn't supposed to be there, and almost the exact same, except this was Madison Bumgarner's coming out party.
Yeah.
This is where he went off. And this is where we realized that Madison Bumgarner was not actually a pitcher. He was a lumberjack that happened to find a baseball.
He just throw it as hard as he can.
That's all he did.
I throw baseball hard.
Well, and when he'd throw it too, like, he was so long and lanky, right? And he is so long and lanky that by the time he got to you, he was like 4 feet 5 inches from you, letting go of the ball. Little Randy Johnson-esque from that regards. And then number 10 on this list, the 2011 St. Louis Cardinals. This was that Pujols World Series. Yachty, if I'm not mistaken, I think he threw out all but one runner in the series or something like that. Just again, that's probably individually the best catching season of all time.
Was that against the
full
Red,
catcher?
the Red Sox, right? Wasn't it against the
Yeah.
Red Sox? Because the Red
Yeah.
Sox, everyone after they won their World
in
Series.
2013, they went back to back to go in, and then the Cardinals beat them.
And the Cardinals beat them. And the Cardinals were heavy underdogs in the series, although in the National League, they were not underdogs. Their pitching staff was really good. Then Mulder on there. Was it Mark Mulder?
Wainwright.
Mulder.
Wainwright's been there forever.
Yeah, he has.
Forever.
Every Cardinals World Series.
Chris Carpenter. Which Carpenter was nasty.
Yeah.
He was the ace of the staff. He was absolutely, his changeup was, him and Roy Halladay, I think, might have the best right-handed changeups of all time.
Yeah.
Like, they were really good. Halladay, that's a whole nother. But I thought this was interesting. It got me thinking, this year we definitely aren't going to have underdogs. This is definitely not an underdog year by any means. The underdogs are not showing themselves. But yet, and you always have the second half run, right? The Major League Baseball season's like an NBA game where the second half of the Major League season, someone always goes on a run, and it's usually someone you don't expect. And it could be a unique team. It could be someone interesting. You have some teams that are starting to falter, and we'll get into that in a minute. One team that faltered, though, was the Angels. The Angels went on this schneid, but they also had their superstar. And it's hard for me to say their superstar when they have two of them, right? But Trout had been hurt. And then this weekend I saw this tweet, and I had to show this to you guys. Series against the Mariners. He ended up hitting 5 this weekend. He hit go-ahead home runs in both games of a doubleheader on Saturday. So he hit the go-ahead in Game 1, the go-ahead in Game 2. When he is in the lineup, it doesn't matter who's around them.
Right.
He at least keeps them in games. So when you start looking at the whole war and the wins over, wins against a replacement and all this stuff and everything, I mean, they took at points they took where Mickey Mantle and did what his war would have been at the time, right? And it rivaled Trout's a lot. But I mean, I would argue with you, he's got Ohtani there, but prior to that in his career, Pujols was nice, but Pujols was not the same, right? This guy has done it without, and now he's doing it with this team, with guys that can play.
So we went, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We went to the game 2 weeks ago. All the game day guys went while we were down in Newport. And we're looking at this lineup. Trout was out, and we're like, dude, there's not one guy besides Ohtani on that whole starting lineup that any of us would pick to be on our lineup.
No.
Anybody. There was guys, and they all were batting under 200, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at the scoreboard, we're like, there's not one guy on this
Tyler
list.
O'Neill was the one guy that we all kind of looked at each other and said, he's a nice player.
Like Joe Adele?
Yeah.
Good player, batting under 200.
Right.
Brandon Marsh didn't play. He pitched it.
Rendon was out. Marsh didn't play.
Yeah.
Trout wasn't there. If you actually look at their lineup when they're healthy, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's why Madden getting fired was kind of like weird, because it's like.
I think the problem with Madden was, and the reason they fired Madden is because Madden wasn't doing enough with the young guys at that point to give them some chances.
Get them ready.
And Nevin is. And Nevin played. He took some of the favoritism off some of the guys that weren't performing and moved some guys around. Sometimes it's shaking it up.
Right.
And look what other team just did that, shook it up, and now they're on fire too. They fired their manager just recently.
Phillies.
The Phillies.
of
And then
course.
they went on like 9 out of 10.
Yep, absolutely.
And won 9 out of 10 games. It's sometimes.
Well, we knew that Phillies team was good. We talked about the NL. We talked about the NL East and how good, like that. That division should be like, it was going to be hard for the Braves to win because, I mean, obviously, I don't think any of us expected the Nationals to be what they are this year, which is just unfortunate. But when you looked at division top to bottom, I don't know that everyone in the baseball world thought this, but we as a collective group in this room definitely thought the Mets were going to be very, very good. And we are 100% hit that one on the head. Right? Yeah. Now we're in those talks. Now all of a sudden the Alonso MVP discussions are happening. Like all these things that we expected were happening, here they are. But with that said, the Marlins are not bad. The Marlins are a decent team. And they've got some players. Jazz Chisholm is on his way to superstardom. Yeah. I thought he was a nice player. Now I've looked, and that organization has depth at shortstop. Watch for them to start moving those young guys and adding some pieces and at least becoming respectful. Right. But that division's just a juggernaut when you think about it. And you still got DeGrom hurt, right? Yeah. So you still have DeGrom hurt. Like, it's one of those things that I am blown away with how that division is. And then Phillies get hot and get going. I mean,
it could be one of those ones that makes a second.
You literally could be looking at this. Yeah, you could be looking at the East, and you could see 3 playoff teams come out of there with the new playoff format.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because the NL West is really good too.
Right.
Right? The NL West is really good when you think Padres, Giants, Dodgers.
Right.
Right? So, and Diamondbacks have been decent. They're not horrible. They've got young pitching, whatever. So, but yeah, interesting time for them. So that, because of this, it kind of brings us into our. Every couple of weeks, we talk about power rankings. It is time for power rankings and for us to discuss where teams are at in the power rankings. And this week, there's some interesting shuffles and changes here. So Jay's got it for us. So Jay, where are we at? Let's start at the top.
Please tell them who number 1 is.
Number 1, the World Series champions this year, I predicted, I even wrote it down in my notes, is the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees are number 1 on the backs of Nestor.
So I was telling him real fast before you move on the list. I'm like, please lose games, for God's sakes. Start losing some games. I don't want them to be like 30 games up going into the playoffs, because guess what? Now you're definitely going to lose in the playoffs.
They're going to get lazy, and they're going to start getting complacent.
I'm like, please go on a stretch where you lose like 8 of 10, just to like bring them back down to size a little bit. No. My God, the pitching staff. I think none of us, even me, and I'm a huge fan of the Yankees, none of us thought their pitching would hold up. to be what it is today.
Let me tell you this. If you think back to the rookie class of pitchers last year, right? Devi Garcia might have been 7th or 8th on the list. And if you did that today, I believe that almost everybody would take Devi Garcia on the top 2 over Casey Mize.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do.
Incredible.
Jackson Kowar, him are probably the guys, right? And Jackson Kowar is pitching on a team that cannot win, right?
But he's
right?
out there.
He is so filthy, so filthy. But the thing is that you're looking at an incredible staff that we did not expect to be. They have the best ERA in baseball. I think they're at 286.
Yeah.
Dodgers are 291. The Dodgers staff, we expected to do that. In fact, we would have been disappointed if they had a 3.5 ERA right now. We'd be talking about how ridiculously overpaid the staff is. Right? This staff should be a 3 and under. But the Yankees, there's no way. I could have picked 5 major AL teams that I would have expected would have been over the Yankees in this department. You pulled some journeymen and pulled some guys out of the woodworks there.
All the stars are aligning. Like
it happens, and that's a
This guy.
Stop
saying it. He's trying to keep it over and over and over.
I'm ready to call this season right now. It's over.
It is a Yankees thing. It's very Yankees to do
June.
this.
We're in the middle of June. The season's over.
The last time I remember.
Let's not even talk about 2 through 10. The power rankings is Yankees, and that's it. It's done.
Last time I remember a team like this pulling this off was when that White Sox team went in and threw 4 complete games in the World Series. Right? If you remember that staff going into the year, you did not think was going to be that staff, right? You didn't think that was going to be the case, right? But, and then, it was surprising. Yeah. This is kind of the same thing, right? So, very, very cool. I think Yankees definitely deserve number 1. They've been at the top of the list almost all year. I don't think that's going to change much. Although, we were surprised that the Blue Jays weren't the team that was at the top of this list.
The Blue Jays have been up and down all year, though. They've been as high as number 1, and they were number 3 for a little while, and now they've dropped down a little bit further, and we'll get down to them in a minute. Number 2, though, is the Mets. So is it going to be a rematch of the Subway Series? When Roger Clemens threw the bat at Mike Piazza.
How much fun would that be?
Such a great moment.
That would be a lot of fun.
Would it be awesome if Clemens came in through the first pitch to Piazza? Oh my gosh. Please, baseball gods, give me that, and I hope Piazza then grabs a bat and throws at it. That'd be awesome.
I bet your Clemens would probably still hit like 91.
I saw him last time I saw him pitch. This was like 4 years ago. He threw 86.
Okay.
He threw 86.
Was the adrenaline
his
flowing?
son just got called up too.
His son did just get called.
So that's great.
Plays for the Tigers.
Yeah.
Does Piazza have a son? Could they maybe throw the first pitch?
Piazza has many sons, but they don't know that Piazza's her dad.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Can we find him?
All of New York probably has about 15 of little Piazza.
If you learned anything today on the GameDay Huddle, you learned that Mike Piazza was a player. He was. So, number 2, the Mets. That's not a surprise to any of us in the room. I think that's a surprise to the baseball world that the Mets are as good as they are. I don't know why people didn't realize they would be that good. I think people were like so sold on the whole Conforto thing not playing and all of this nonsense, right? Like they were so worried about it. Francisco Lindor is done. Lindor was not done. Lindor was hurt. Yeah. He was hurt, right? He played well the second half of the season for the most part. Yeah. But they attributed that to Javi Baez being there. Baez was gone. Everybody was, it was, the sky is falling. And then here's the Mets doing exactly what we thought they would do.
The surprise is number 3.
It is.
Because of who they leaked. The San Diego Padres come at number 3.
They see the grin, right? The grin comes up. Because now I get to look across and go, well, maybe, just maybe that's the matchup. Because I know if the Yankees and the Padres go to the World Series, Jimmy will pay for me to go to the World Series.
We will be.
Okay.
We will be at one of the games in San Diego.
So I already know I got a free ticket.
Close by. We will be at least one of the games.
I would not mind seeing the Padres or the Mets playing against the Yankees. I just don't want to see the Dodgers in there.
I personally, I would love to see the Padres, but from a baseball standpoint, they are a really fun team to watch. The whole coined Slam Diego theme last year. Now, they're not hitting the grand slams like that this year.
I know.
They are hitting the baseball, and they've really turned it on as of late.
And guess who just picked up a bat? Your boy.
Well, yeah, almost.
Okay.
Almost
Okay.
picked up a bat.
He's about 3 to 4 days away.
Yeah,
A week.
Yeah, he
He
said he
can't
was a week
swing.
out. He couldn't
Yeah.
swing, but he's on.
But
he's
here's-
on the field, fielding and throwing.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is I was looking it up kind of right before the show started,
Yeah.
and it says that he had a CT scan a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And it did not reveal the level of healing that the Padres had hoped for.
Right, which
And
is why he's
now-
not hitting.
And now they're looking at probably July's return date. They were talking mid-June,
Okay.
and now they're saying July.
They had said
They pushed his date back.
they initially said July.
So he picked up a bat. He picked it up,
Yeah.
but he didn't swing it.
Yeah, They initially talked that Tatis would return in July.
Mhm.
Then they fast tracked it because the healing was kind of going good, and then they just want to make sure.
Yeah.
And let's be fair, because of how they're playing,
You don't need
that
a-
has something to play into it.
Yeah, but Machado just went down.
Machado did go down.
Hurt him.
I hate seeing Machado go down. However, I do think it's going to be an opportunity for someone to stay in the big leagues, and that is because C.J. Abrams is going to get called back up. C.J. Abrams will go and play second base. Cronenworth will probably move over to third.
And Converse in the shit out of the ball.
And Cronenworth, it doesn't matter.
So was Machado.
If you want to talk about, I'm going to tell you now, Machado is unbelievable, and he's definitely in the top 2 to 3 discussions for MVP in the league, right? Cronenworth is probably the MVP of the Padres. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's unreal. He
He's gonna
plays
play
all
everywhere.
over the field.
Yeah.
He can hit anywhere in the lineup, right? And what an absolute steal. The way that they got it, like, he has cost them nothing, right?
Yeah. I would love to see the Padres in the World Series. Hopefully they can sustain it. They need to kind of do what Golden State Warriors did, which is rely on a lot of these guys to just kind of get them through the season, but be at the top, and then have
It all come together again.
have
Yeah.
Machado be back fully healthy, 100% from his
Yeah.
ankle injury, and have Tatis come
And I
back,
think
then it would be a different
I think the
story.
Padres are being to put him 7 days on the ankle injury. From what I read, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But I think what they're doing is they're also giving him a little bit of rest.
It could just be a
Then they'll
rest.
get a 2 or
Right.
3 week run. Then they'll go into the All-Star break.
Right.
They know he's going to be in the All-Star game. They know he's going to be doing all
Right.
that stuff.
Just
So it's
give him
almost
a
like
little
get
break.
it now rather than later. I think it's a good move by them, and I think it's going to give them opportunity. And the Padres have Robert Hassel on the way. Hassel will get called up this year. I'm telling you that now. He will get called up. He will come from AA. He will come up, and he could absolutely be a game changer for them. Number 4.
Number 4 is the Dodgers that we just talked about. They dropped a spot. Now they're falling behind in the National League.
Yeah.
They're behind the Mets and the Padres as far as the power rankings go. But we all know the Dodgers will be there at the end.
Yeah,
It's not they're gonna
pitching,
fold.
right?
Yeah, they're going to be there in the end. Kershaw did miss some time. So I'm not worried about the Dodgers. You know they're going to be there. They're going to be in the top 5 of the power rankings all year long. But
Right.
that gives you 3 National League teams in the top 4.
It does. National League is very strong. The
Yeah.
very top end of the AL is
Yeah.
very good, and then there is 10 teams in the National League that all can be in the discussion.
Yes.
And we'll go to number 5 now.
Number 5 is the Houston Astros. It's the second American League team behind the Yankees. They've kind of been a surprise as well. They're the only team I read that in the AL West that has a winning record.
Yeah. Now you might see a fall off with them over the next couple of weeks,
Mhm.
and that is because
Alvarez.
Pena and Jordan are
Yep.
both injured.
Yep.
So because both of those guys are out, that was about 60% of their run production was
Yeah.
those 2 players.
So I'm curious to see if they fall at all
Right.
or not.
Bregman has shown in the past he'll step it up. Altuve is consistent. We all know that, right?
And we talked about this at the beginning of the year. One
Yeah.
thing about the Astros, none of us realize it. They're always just there.
Yeah.
They bring it. They retool whoever. We all talked
Yeah.
about who's in charge of their minor league programs because they just have players.
Well, you got
They-
Pedro Leon is getting an opportunity to play a little bit more now because of
They
the
re
Pena
up and
injury.
they'll be right.
But it
there.
helps
Yeah.
because they play in the AL West.
It
they
does,
can
too.
literally lose 6 games in a row and go on a 6 game and still be in first place.
Well, you had the Angels with that 12 game. If the Angels weren't so decimated by injury,
Yeah.
and that happened the way it did, the Angels would probably be leading the division right now. But because they were hurt,
Right.
this team though, I'm not going to take it away. And it's incredible that we continue to talk about the Astros in the top 5 all the time. And none of us believe the Astros.
Well,
and we
because-
talk about them all the
Is
time.
it buzzers? Is it trash cans? Is it
Right.
signs from the? Who knows with these guys? They're a bunch of cheaters. Move on.
You think they're still cheating?
I mean, there's discussion
Yeah,
with
they're
your
a
team.
terrible team. How are they in the top?
Hey, what did
5?
Marcus Stroman just say about the Yankees?
What?
Marcus Stroman just came out and said the Yankees are stealing signs, and he's like, I know it. I've alerted Major League Baseball. He's already thrown it out, saying the Yankees are cheating this year right now.
So stealing signs
Shocker.
is a part of baseball.
I agree.
Stealing signs is a part. Using buzzers, trash cans,
Relaying
that stuff.
signs is where the issue is.
Correct.
And how we've done it in the past is it's a, hey, let's go, Jimmy. There comes the fastball. And now it's the balls and strikes flash on the scoreboard. That's different, and I get it. Stroman swears up and down that what the Yankees are doing are illegal. I don't know, but let's be fair. Marcus Stroman is also, he's hated the Yankees since, I don't know, he's probably 5.
So we should put an asterisk next to their name when they win the
Well,
World Series this year.
You guys can keep saying that.
I'm
but
not
nobody's
hating. I'm
man
being
enough-
honest with you.
Nobody's man enough to throw out our leadoff batter anyways, because we have the best leadoff batter in baseball in Aaron Judge. And I don't know how he's the leadoff, but it was a great move because the guy looks awesome.
I mean, they had to mimic how Schwarber was doing, because Schwarber, once he started hitting lead off for the Cubs, Schwarber went off, and here it is. And you know what it is? You don't walk the leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
You don't walk the leadoff hitter. So he's got one plate appearance a game, and I think that's what it is. He's got one plate appearance a game that he is not going to be pitched around.
And he gets more at
He
bats.
gets on
so
base.
And he gets to see the most
leadoff
plate
batter gets
appearances.
the most at bats.
Yep.
Interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if more coaches do this later on.
Well, you got to think
in the year.
Schwarber's still doing it. Now
Yeah.
he's in Philly, and he's doing it in Philly. He was doing it with the
Putting
Nationals.
your
He
best
did it with the
hitter at
Cubs.
3 and 4.
Yeah.
I think those days are going to be numbered. Why not? Why have Juan Soto bat third?
When the home run,
first.
Because he gets more at bats.
when the home run is so valuable now, because we no longer look at producing. Guys, what is the top in stolen bases in the league right now? 25?
Right.
20?
Yeah, nothing.
What's going to be at the end of the year? 40?
Right.
Right?
No one cares about the
No
stolen
one's
base
stealing
anymore.
bases anymore. It's not that game anymore.
not
It's hitting
Ricky
home
Henderson
runs.
and
So
Vince Coleman and
now
all
you
those
go.
guys.
If we're going back to that, then teams like the Marlins would be unbelievable, because the Marlins could, if they wanted to, they could have 200 stolen base guys a year. I guarantee you. Jazz Chisholm could probably steal 120 bases if he wanted to.
Well, they got away from small ball. Major League
Yeah.
Baseball's got. You don't
They
see
did.
bunting anymore.
You know
Never
who's-
see a bunch.
Do you know whose fault that
Never.
is? You know whose fault that is?
The Yankees.
Your team's fault.
Oh.
The A's.
Yeah.
It is 100% the A's fault that we no longer play small ball.
Well, chalk it up for another loss for the A's.
All
One
right,
more loss for the A's.
number 6.
Number 6 is the Atlanta Braves. We just talked about a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
They were underdogs. They're hanging around. They're in the 6th spot right now.
Their
right
staff has
behind
kind
Astros.
of figured it out.
Yeah.
They're got a little bit better numbers over the last 12 to 15 games,
Yeah.
and I think that we expected that staff to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about their catcher, right? And there's a really neat moment this weekend. I wish I had the video of it, and that was the Cubs and Braves played in Chicago, and Contreras comes up to bat and his brother is there. I don't think a lot of guys realize that they're brothers.
Yeah.
And to be the 1 and 2 catchers in the league currently, offensively and possibly defensively, right? The both of them there, so it was really neat to see. Pretty cool weekend for them to play against each other. I thought that those are neat moments for baseball. It's a really great baseball moment.
Those are pretty cool.
The guy's unreal, and he's unreal in the middle of a lineup that is just consistent, right? Just incredibly consistent.
That's true.
And with that said, I'll mention Lorenzo Cain was designated for assignment this week, which is kind of a unfortunate thing, because Cain, he's one of those guys that, obviously he was big on that World Series team we talked about with the Royals, right? Such a good player for so long, and to see him be, DFA'd in the middle of a season with a team that maybe he could have helped, I don't know, but unfortunately he was. So
Yeah, I saw a video of him getting hit right in the jump. Did you see that? He was trying to stop a ball, and the ball was bad.
yeah.
So he got 2 kicking the balls in the same week.
2 kicks in the balls in the same
Same
week.
week.
Same
Dude.
week. The Blue Jays come in at number 7.
Yeah.
That's a team that we talked about earlier in the show. They've literally been up and down. They've been as high as number 1, number 2, and they've dropped down below the top 10.
I think we saw him at 13 at one point, right?
They dropped down below the top 10.
So they're back
and
up
now
again.
They're back up at 7. And then a team that we love, that we've talked about all year long, is the Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Cardinals come in at number 8.
And let's talk about where they
They're going to
lead.
hang around, I think. They're going to hang around.
They're hit the cover off the baseball.
Yes.
Do you realize that they have now had 5 position player appearances on the mound because they were blowing out other teams, not because they were being blown out.
Right.
Understand that this is because they were blowing out a team.
Yeah.
They have a great mix of veteran leadership and these young kids that are coming in that you really are like, are they good? Are they not?
Walker,
good?
Gorman,
Bader,
those guys, Bader, Newbar, all those guys can play. Dylan
Carlson.
We're talking about this list. Carlson became 5th on that list. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Right? Incredible team. And Wainwright still winning.
Yeah.
We talked about him being father time, and here he is.
Yeah.
This might be his last go. Especially if they make a deep run in the playoffs. I think that this is probably Wainwright's last season. I think him and Yachty go out together. I think Yachty's probably done. I think everybody's high on Herrera coming in and thinks that Herrera is going to be, next up at the catching position.
Calling him Yachty 2.0 or something.
Yeah, they're definitely, they like him a lot. He's very similar built, and he spent the last 3 years in spring training with Yachty doing exactly everything Yachty did. Everything from eating the same breakfast to everything.
That's awesome.
Because he wanted to learn from the best. He had a chance to learn from the best, and that's what he wanted to do. It's a fun thing. They leap, though, the Brewers, and the Brewers fall on this list. And let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah.
We have been saying since, week 2 of the season, that the Brewers are probably a little more pretender than they are contender.
Yes.
And now it's starting to show.
Right.
And now it's starting to come to reality. The Brewers were good. I don't know that they were top 15 good.
No. And they're not even the top 10 anymore.
Yeah.
They're done. I think they went out to a great run, and I think they got lucky in a bunch of those starts with these young pitchers, and now these hitters have seen these pitchers for almost 2 months. Now they're picking up on what they're throwing. So
yeah.
I think they're done. They will never sniff the top 10.
Making the adjustments.
Yep. And, you got guys that just aren't getting it done that you would expect would, on that team as far as in the lineup. They've got guys in that should be doing well and aren't. Where we at next?
Number 9 comes the Giants, and that's the 3rd team from the West.
Yep.
The National League West.
We said the NL West is good.
You got Padres, Dodgers, and Giants. Three teams in the top 9.
And think about this: the first 25 days, 30 days of the season, the Giants were number 1 in the West.
Yeah.
That lead in the West is going to just change constantly. It's going to be whoever wins the next 7 games.
Yeah, I just think the Giants are a pretender this year. I think last year was their year that they kind of shocked everybody. They're a good team, don't get me wrong. I think they're going to fall off here late into the season.
As weird as it is,
the
the reason I think that is, and this can be the weirdest thing that you're going to hear me say, it's because they didn't re-sign Kevin Gausman. Literally the reason. Because Gausman was the guy that every single time that they had, a little skid, he could go out there and get them 7, give the bullpen reprieve, because their bullpen's really good.
Yeah. They
Right?
do have a great bullpen.
And that's
their starting pitching's okay. It's not great. It's not Dodgers.
You just can't put
like,
the miles on the
yeah.
bullpen like they're having to put on the bullpen, and it's starting to show itself.
So
Right?
they're sellers of the break then?
I do. I think they're going to fall off here in the next month, and I think by the All-Star game they're going to realize all right, we have a lot of good young guys. Let's retool here. Let's try to make a run next.
Now this is a room full of people that are rooting for Luciano to get his major league debut this year. We are waiting for Luciano to come up, which would be fun, and I think that would be cool.
Finally, rounding out the top 10, the Minnesota Twins.
The Twins,
which they've been around that 10 spot this entire season. They've been right around that 10, 11, 12 spot.
And if I'd say if anybody in the room championed the Twins, it's you, Jay.
Yeah.
Because you've constantly in the fantasy portion been like,
Every
this guy,
week
this guy, this guy. There they are.
There's you 2 guys every week.
Every week from the Twins.
They're still available to be picked up in 90% of leagues. Now it's 80% of the leagues.
And they're in the top 10.
These guys are hitting 300. They have 13 bombs. You're still not picking them up. What the hell's wrong with you?
I finally just took Kirilloff off my list.
You did?
Yes, I finally just took him off this week.
Because
like 3 weeks in a row.
Because people bought him, and you know why?
And now he's over 80% owned.
You know why? Because he was at 700 in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
He was hitting 700.
Yeah, crush it.
Unbelievable.
For months we talked about that dude. We're like, get this guy. Like, I know he had a wrist injury, and like he was, on the
wrist
show.
injury as a baseball player, which is why they're taking the time with Tatis,
Yeah.
is one of the toughest things to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? guys will sit in the dugout and they will use grippers to make sure that their wrists are strong, right? During games, working out, right? That's how important it is to the game. So wrist injury is always the thing that you worry about. Guy coming back, it takes some time. It definitely is one of those things. Whenever a guy gets, the wrist injury gets hit there. Yeah. So really good. Anthony was talking about the White Sox, talking about the most 9-run plus games. Now, this is a team that's disappointing to me. Because at the beginning of the season, I said the White Sox will be in the top 10. They should be being discussed in the top 10. And they're number 17 on the list. And they fell 2 spots from 15. Mm-hmm. And the lineup is great. They've got a bunch of really good guys. And if we want to talk about a team that could go on a run, this would be the team I would guess. Because they are really good. Grandel has been hurt, and that is killing them.
The lineup has been hurt.
Yes.
In and out.
Anderson's back already, right? Or no?
Anderson, I don't think he's back. No, Anderson's still out, but Grandel is a bigger deal. And Anderson's an all-star, but Grandel is the pitching staff. Yeah. And they have that luxury of having a hitting catcher that most... I mean, let's talk about the Yankees. Yankees do not hit at catcher.
What do you mean? We got
Yeah, but you don't hit at catcher.
No, we don't.
Right? You got a catcher that's catching the staff.
Yeah, he's doing much better than what we had last year.
Of course. But what I'm saying is the best team in the American League doesn't have a catcher.
Yeah.
Right? This is why Contreras from the Cubs is going to be such a big deal. Because one of those teams, the Yankees, the Dodgers, someone's going to take a flyer on him. Someone's going to make a move to acquire him. Because they are. If it's the Yankees, that's going to be ridiculous. I just don't know what they're going to send. Because they're not going to send Sweeney because they need the future of the outfield.
Jason Dominguez. Goodbye.
J-Dome might be the one piece that gets moved. He is the one piece. And Chicago is probably about the best spot for him to land. Like, that literally could be the best spot for him to land.
Yeah, speaking, because right before we went to the power rankings, we talked about biggest underdogs who come and win the World Series or the championship or whatever it is. This could be a great time to pick up the White Sox. I think all of us in this room think their pitching staff's good.
Of course.
It's not great, but it's definitely in the top 10 in the pitching staff.
They only have to be is under 4 runs a game.
Right, and they do have the lineup that could get hot. You've got guys in that lineup, 1 through 6, that are studs.
There's guys in that lineup that 2-3 years ago were some of the hottest names in the game. Yoan Moncada. We don't even talk about him. We talk about this team. Jake Berger's been absolutely off the charts. Yep. And here's the thing about the White Sox. And Anthony's not going to like hearing this, right? But they have Yoelqui Cespedes, who cannot play right now. He's hurt, right? As probably one of the top bartering chips in all of baseball for anything they want. Because if Yoelqui Cespedes is offered in any trade deal, any team that's not in contention will offer up any of their top-end players, or I guarantee it. Outside of Juan Soto, because apparently the Nationals have decided that they don't want a future. I don't really know what they're doing there. That to me that's going to be a front office that'll be gone at the end of the year. If Juan Soto doesn't get traded, I'm going to tell you that now, blowing it up, right? Yeah. But I will tell you this, is that they have the pieces in their farm system to do this. They've got this kid Sosa down there that they think just as highly as they do Cespedes. So Cespedes could absolutely be moved to a team that's futuring themselves. The Reds is the team that comes to mind. The Reds have 2 top-line arms that could come in, and they've got 2 bullpen arms that could come in and help a team like the White Sox. And Cespedes, coupled with a couple other prospects, would probably make it happen. Yeah. Right?
No,
so those guys...
Big time I consider. I think we've all thought highly of the White Sox. Yeah. They've underachieved so far. They can make a run, and I think I might throw a little... We need to pop a little thing up there. This should be Jimmy's future bet. Future prop right here. It is. Looking for a team that could sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, mid-season.
You've got Dylan Cease. You've got serious arms that can make a serious run.
Giolito, they've got guys that can play, and they're impressive when they're all on the field. And it is a health thing, and being healthy. And hopefully they can get it together, because I would love to see, I'll be honest, I would love an ALCS, Yankees, White Sox, Chicago, New York, We're talking pizzas. We're talking all the nonsense, right?
Cold weather.
Yes. We're talking all that stuff that that baseball does. And you've got guys that look like lumberjacks on both teams, right? Mm-hmm. Which is just I want to see that. I think that's entertaining and that would be fun. And so that is a disappointment for me down on the list. Some of the teams that things that we don't talk about. We had been talking about the bottom 2 or 3. You had safely avoided this all of the season until this week.
Yeah.
The A's are now the 29th team in power rankings in the league, right in front of the Kansas City Royals, which breaks my heart to see the Royals do that. And another team that's kind of down the list that's very disappointing is the Tigers. I think the Tigers are 24th or 25th on the list. Was a neat moment though. Riley Green made his major league debut. He reached base 4 times.
First at bat,
showed
smoked a base hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with the other way twice. He's going to be a very nice player for them. Match him up with Torkelson. Unfortunately, I know Cabrera is still hitting. He's just not the imposing threat that he once was. Once he's kind of off the books in there, that team could be really, really good. We will see. We will see that. And 90% of the Yankees' losses are to the White Sox this year, is what Anthony's saying. Just as a side note, I don't know if that's a barb or if that's a.
Oh, you're killing me. Oh, right in the heart.
I like it.
Guys, it's time to talk fantasy with Jay Up. It's Fantasy Roundup with Jay Up. Jay's going to help you set your fantasy lineups, and he's got some for you this week. One I'm pretty excited about because I get to go. I called it.
Yes. Well, here's the first guy we're going to talk about is the guy you just mentioned 30 seconds ago was Riley Green.
Yes.
Center fielder for the Detroit Tigers, 21 years old, coming off that foot injury. He was actually slated to be the opening day starter until that foot injury. Now he's back. He's hitting the cover off the ball. He's definitely a pickup. He's not owned in 100% of leagues.
And what's great about him in fantasy, really quick, is he already is going to see more pitches per plate appearance than any other player on that team.
Yep.
The guy has an absolute great eye. This was the thing they talked about him the most, is that his eye, they think, might be the best in the last 10 to 15 years. Over the Trouts, over all these guys, they think he might have the best plate discipline of anybody in the last 15 or 20 years.
They said that the Tigers even felt more strongly about him than Torkelson.
Of course.
About all the hype.
Because he's gonna walk. He's not gonna swing at pitches out of the strike zone. Torkelson's gonna swing at the high fastball all the time. Right.
So Riley Green's a good ad. I also got 2 Padres on this list. I know that's gonna excite you a little bit. One is for basically short term, which is Luke Voit. He's 31 years old, but he's actually hitting the ball right now. So if it's a short term, meaning 31 years old, but he is hitting the ball right now. He's getting you home runs. So he's giving you that power. He's going to have strikeouts that are going to be high, but they're trying to get him back to where he was with the Yankees a couple years ago.
Well, Voigt's in the discussion. Here's a sneaky thing with
Voit.
Voit.
They're getting injuries right now in San Diego. So,
but here's the other thing. Hosmer is definitely being discussed in trades. It's no secret by the Padres. They have had discussions of trading him because of their depth at that position. And Voit would play first base instantly if Hosmer's gone.
Yeah.
So.
And he costs you half the money.
Right, and that's the whole deal. The deal is they'll take a rental deal on a pitcher and a bullpen arm and send him and a very nice prospect. I'd hate to be Victor Acosta, but I think that's who they would ship.
And you're going to get very similar numbers with Voit and Hosmer.
Yeah.
I know Hosmer came out on fire. He kind of came back down to earth a little bit.
As we expected.
Yeah. So you're going to get very similar numbers with Voit and Hosmer. So, it's a great move to get rid of that big contract, keep Voit, and he might play a role.
So jump on him now before Hosmer does get
exactly.
Another guy that you talked about early in the show is C.J. Abrams, that other Padre. He's a shortstop, 21 years old. Machado just got hurt. We're having the feeling that he's going to be the guy that kind of steps in. He's got to get called up. So jump on him before he's actually only owned in 60% of leagues, which I was kind of surprised about.
Because I don't see them moving Kim to third. Right. I don't think they're going to have him play short in the interim until Tatis is ready. The interesting piece is going to be Kim. I actually think Kim probably gets moved at the trade deadline. I wouldn't be shocked if the Padres move Kim, going from starting in their lineup every day to being moved. He would return a pretty good cache of players, I would guess.
Right. He's a good little player.
He is, and that's the thing.
Want to move him?
Yeah, because you got Tatis.
Yeah.
You've got Abrams that can play short. You got Cronenworth, who's naturally a shortstop. You now have Jackson Merrill in your farm system. You have Victor Acosta. You have literally 8 or 10 shortstops that are in their organization. I mean, put it this way. The Padres moved Jorge Mateo because of their depth where they were. And Mateo's an everyday starting shortstop in the major leagues. So I
watched the game on Saturday, and I was surprised. He was good. He was one of the top players I was watching.
He's a really good, and that's why I think he will. It's the same thing as when they made the deal for the second baseman from the Pirates last year, and then they moved him in the offseason. Everybody's like, why? It's because up the middle, besides the Marlins, organizationally, they might have the best depth up the middle of any team in baseball right now. I can't think of anybody else that's as deep as those two teams.
That's why I say, so you have that logjam in that position, but I think that C.J. Abrams is the guy that you want to pick up, especially because he's not owned in so many leagues. And now I have 2 Pittsburgh Pirates to pick up. O'Neal Cruz, we actually mentioned him on the podcast before. Shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He just got promoted. He was absolutely destroying it in AAA. He's not owned in over 50% of the league, so he's somebody you definitely want to go out.
He is going to be
we talked about him before.
A lightning rod when he comes to the league because he's so freaking big. Yeah. And he's so imposing, and you don't realize how big A-Rod is, right?
They said he was like the size of Aaron Judge.
Right.
He's 6'7".
You don't realize how big A-Rod was, and his skill set is compared to A-Rod, and he's bigger than A-Rod.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a really, really fun player. His rookie cards have been hitting this year. They've been received kind of lukewarm. They also did some weird stuff with him as rookies to this point as far as card market goes. We talked about O'Neal Cruz as being an investment. When did we call that? A month and a half ago?
That's what I mean. We've mentioned him a couple times, and now he just got promoted because he was killing the ball at AAA. So I think he could be here to stay.
No, I agree with you on him for sure.
My last Pittsburgh Pirate. You may have heard of him. Maybe you haven't heard of him.
Find that out at the big league level. As Sawinski socks one deep to right field. He's left the park. Jack Sawinski ties it. He enjoyed hitting here. He's trying for 2. Get out there. Another one. Jack Sawinski gives the Pirates the lead.
Oh, no.
In the air to right. This is deep. And he did it again. Jack Sawinski wins it for the Pirates.
He had all the runs.
3 home runs in a game for the Pirates rookie. You never know what you're going to see, and we just saw it.
So while everyone else...
I've never heard of the guy.
Right. Everyone else has not been on it. Now, a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, I told everybody, I said, Sawinski's Bowman First is in the 22 Bowman product.
Brand new product.
Go out and buy it.
Those are just
His first and autos are in there. Go out and buy it. Go out and get his stuff. His first is in there, and he will play. And literally, it wasn't 3 days later. It was the next week I came in, and I'm like, Sawinski got called up.
Yeah.
The guy just hit his 11th home run of the season.
In what, 4 weeks? 3 weeks?
The guy's unreal.
Jesus.
He was tearing it up. He did the double-A. This is why, because he did the double-A to the major leagues jump.
Oh.
And everybody wanted to talk about Nick Gonzalez, and everybody wanted to talk about O'Neal Cruz.
Damn, the Pirates got Brian. Hey, they got some...
They do. Pirates have the cavalry on their way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they've got some players underneath that are really good,
Henry
too.
Davis.
They just pulled up Paguero.
My God.
Right? Leover Paguero just came up. Like, they've got guys that can play. Young guys are going to get a cup of coffee. I'm going to tell you that. I like this guy a lot. He's a very Pittsburgh player. Mm-hmm. He reminds me of the whole, gritty kind of like he's going to be a worker. He's not the biggest guy on the field. He's not the fastest guy. He is an absolute star for this team. I was so excited to see that he was. And in fact, I remember looking at the beginning of the year going, the dude has no cards.
Yeah.
Because when we were talking about Quan and them, I was like, "Where's Sawinski?" And then I went and looked, and I'm like, "Oh, well, he's in Double-A. Maybe that's why. Maybe they're." And then boom, the Bowman First comes out and gets promoted literally within weeks of his first card coming out. Yeah. I'm absolutely in love with them. We go ahead and give the information on the fantasy side for them.
Well, on the fantasy side of it, what I was kind of reading about is that obviously he has 11 home runs this season, which is kind of unsustainable, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, in the fantasy aspect of it, is go out and get this guy if he's still available and trade him. because he's not going to keep up with these kind of stats. Ride the wave while you can.
Yeah.
But there's going to be somebody that will overpay for this guy because he's the new hot name. And yes, he will be a star, but he's not going to be Mike Trout. You know what I mean? He's not going to be Shohei Ohtani. He's going to be a good player who's going to swing at some bad pitches once these pitchers start figuring out how to pitch to him. That's my opinion. Go out and get this guy. You have to own this guy. And once you have him, throw him out there. Throw him out there and see who overpaid for this kid because of what he's doing right now.
And he's gonna be a 260, 270 hitter. He's not
Correct.
gonna be a 300 hitter. He strikes out too much.
Correct.
But he power to both gaps.
Fun
good
to watch,
player.
and he will
Plays
have
really
runs.
good defense,
Yes.
which is going to be important, especially on a team that doesn't pitch very well, right? So like,
Well, when
you know,
give up your best pitcher in talent to the Yankees, right?
Of course.
Mostly dog food.
Right.
yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Let's talk about the front office doesn't do the best job there, but as far as scouting
Yeah, good
goes,
scouting
let's
department.
tip the cap to the scouting. That is incredible. Jay's Fantasy comes to you each and every week. You guys get your fantasy advice. Jay can help you out. If you guys have any questions on something in your lineup, please send us a message, shoot us something. We'd love to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah.
Jay would love to do that. And he does all the sports. He's itching for football. I know he is. We are going to talk a little football.
I'm in the middle of a football draft right now as we speak. It's a long draft over email, and I'm the 5th pick, and right now they're on the 3rd pick.
Well, we're going to talk about it, and it is time for Plus or Minus. This is where we go over investments, talk about your card collection or things that you can do in your card collection to either make money or avoid losing money. And I'm going to kick it off today, and this is going to be kind of like, I don't know, people are going to be like, what? Wait, what? Real quick on some product. Let's talk about Prism. Prism Football dropped. We've seen how Prism Football is doing exactly as Jimmy said it would. Prism Football came out. It was really hot. Some of the product now, the retail stuff's starting to hit, and a little bit of the hobby is it's trickling a little bit. But what I can tell you is this. This product is absolutely loaded. And if you think that the 2020 product is as crazy as it is now, what's Prism Hobby now for?
2,400, 2,300.
Yeah, a box, right? You're literally talking, it's up from, I think it was at 12 last year, right? And it went from 12, it's literally doubled. This product is probably easily going to double. This is a product you can invest into right now. Anywhere from, I've seen pricing anywhere from $1,400 to $1,800 a box. You can grab that product, stash it away. I think we have it to shop at $1,600. You guys can come in, grab a box, stash it away. I know some of the big one-on-ones have been hit. The T-Law stuff is non-existent. For some reason, the Lawrence stuff is not showing up. Seen a lot of the Mac Jones stuff. We're not seeing all of the T-Law stuff. No Davis Mills stuff hardly, which is another one. So I don't know if they stash those guys and put them into retail, what the game plan is. But I would expect we will also have it. The retail, as usual, is a good investment. And I actually would say right now, from an investment standpoint, you guys picking up the retail, stashing that away, that is going to have good upside value, especially going into the football season. This is going to be one of the few years, because this product being so late, that you're going to see a quick jump from now to then in the product. There's no reason the blasters won't be $100, $110 by the beginning of the season. Megas will probably be in that $150, $175 range.
And one thing that definitely helps Prism out is the grading aspect. PSA just released last week the $30 bulk submissions again. So guess what that does for all your Prism cards that you've been holding off on sending in? Those will now get sent in. It's going to take them 4 to 6 months to get back. That's perfect prime time.
Right in the middle of the
Right
season.
in the middle of the season, you'll be getting your Mac Jones and your Trevor Lawrence and all that stuff back graded from PSA. The perfect time to be flipping those. So best time to buy right now. Buy it, put those cards into grading, wait your 6 months, get them back right in the middle of the season when things start going crazy.
Well, and let's talk about that for a minute too, because we talk about this from a quarterback standpoint, but it's my opinion, and this is where we're going today in the investment portion, is your investment right now, your opportunity in the market in football is receivers. Because the draft class was so non-existent for the quarterback this year. We all knew it wasn't going to be very good. The 22 receiver class is going to be really good. Those are going to be the guys that when the 22 product starts hitting, that we're going to be all talking and chasing. We're all going to be after Chris Olave. We're going to be chasing all of these guys, right? And because of that, you've already starting to see, and I said this, at the draft, the NFL just gave you the information of what was going to happen to the hobby, and we're starting to see it happen, which is the NFL made it so important for the receivers that you had, 6, 7, 8 teams move up in the draft to pick and draft receivers? Like, once you start to see that movement, that tells you how valuable to the league it is. That translates to the hobby. We've never seen it like this before. This is going to be where we're bucking a trend. People are going to say, well, I don't know. It's still receivers. It's not quarterbacks. Sure, you might not get the 500 times your money that you did on Mac Jones this last year, but I'm going to tell you now, there are some investments out there for you to have. And the first one I want to throw up, and this one just mind boggles me, and that is Justin Jefferson. Everybody will sit and say Jamar Chase is now the best receiver in the league. That's what everyone wants to make. They want to anoint him that. The best receiver in the league, in my opinion, is Justin Jefferson, and I don't think it's a close second. He is playing with Kirk Cousins on a team that should not even be remotely close to the playoffs. He is the best route runner out there. He is fast. He is fun. He is flashy. He's entertaining. He's all over stuff. He's been in Fortnite. These are all things in the hobby that matter.
It's
right?
a team that wants to run first also.
I know.
They only throw the ball when they get behind in garbage time, and that's when they kind of do their thing. But, like, Justin Jefferson is involved in the game from the start, but they want to run the ball.
Well, you've got Chase, and Chase is ahead value-wise of Justin Jefferson.
This is the hot new thing.
So right now is a great time, because I'm going to tell you something. When these other receivers come out, the hot new thing's going to be there. But these guys are trending. They are trending up. But Jefferson's the one that's not trending like the other ones. Number one in trending is Jamar Chase. I like Jamar Chase. I think he's a really nice receiver. I'm going to argue, though, that he's got one of the best Batman in the game, or Robins in the game, right? With T. Higgins.
Yep.
T. Higgins is a really good, and you have to double team Higgins down
In the red zone.
in the red zone because he's so big,
Yep.
right? So I'm telling you, guys, he's a good investment. I don't know if he warrants the type of increase that we've seen on him over this last 4-month period. After the Super Bowl, while we saw Burrow prices come down, Chase's prices have slowly continued to climb.
Yeah.
Right? Now, which is a weird trend to me, and I know you guys know that. We all know that there will be a bounce back on Burrow and all those quarterbacks and everything. The guy that I think, and I said it again, the guy that I thought was best in the class this last year was Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is a great route runner. He's a big guy. He's a red zone guy. Now with Tyreek Hill there, he is going to get some extra opportunities that he didn't get because he was the 1A last year. Now he can be the 1B, right? And I think that's gonna bode well for him. I think that he's a guy that you can still get into. You can get into his stuff fairly reasonable. Considering that his highest end stuff is about 50% of what Jamar Chase's stuff is. That to me tells me that this is an absolute buy, because I don't know that Jamar Chase overall is worth double what Waddle is. That's just my own opinion, and I do believe that receivers are going to be hot. The guy that I think that you have the best investment opportunity into is Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis has, on most people's list now, the number 2 quarterback in NFL. This guy had an absolutely great end of the season. And I know Stephon Diggs is there. And again, it's that same thing with Waddle, where Stephon Diggs is the number 1. There's no doubt about it. Stephon Diggs is also the exact same thing as Tyreek Hill. He's a little guy. He's fast. He's not big. He's not imposing. He's not a red zone threat. He's not that guy, right? Yeah. He's the guy that blows it, open over the top.
Yeah.
Gabriel Davis, not big like Waddle, but he's a very good receiver. He's precise in his route running. I think of him a lot as Keenan Allen.
Yeah, you saw it in the playoffs last year with Josh Allen, and he looked at Gabriel Davis a lot.
Yeah.
He was
the Chiefs game. He had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was throwing it to him every chance he could, because I think you're right, and you're right on the trend that if you're getting the second best cornerback on the team, your opportunities are 100 times better. These number 1 DBs are very hard to come by, and usually every team has about one DB that can lock up that wide receiver.
If you don't, you're a loser.
Yes. If you're a good playoff team, you got that one DB that can lock up that number 1 wide receiver. These number 2s now with Waddle and with Gabriel Davis,
Yep.
they're going to get a lot more opportunities. Because guess what? If you're Josh Allen or you're Tua and you're sitting back there and you're saying,
Yeah.
hey, am I going to throw to Trayvon Diggs is covering Stephon Diggs? Or am I going to throw to Gabriel Davis, who's got a no-name DB on him? I'm throwing Gabriel Davis
yeah.
every single time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and not only that, but you look at their depth chart, and they basically they lost Emmanuel Sanders to free agency. He went on with, I think, New Orleans, and then you also lost Cole Beasley to free agency too. So they only replaced him with Jamison Crowder.
Crowder's
yeah.
on that team.
Yeah, and Crowder's gonna run the slot though.
We did like Crowder a lot
So,
with the Jets.
Yeah, but he's a slot guy,
Yep.
so he's not gonna eat into his targets. The only
That's a pretty good
problem,
weapon.
yeah,
I didn't know they got him.
the only problem with it though is that Allen will look at that. We all saw what Beasley did for them, right? And he was their their security blanket when they have their downs, kind of like a Hunter Renfrow, but not as not as good. So it scares me because I think that Davis is going to get around that probably 6 targets a game. Because you know that Diggs is going to get upwards of 8 to 10 targets a game. You know Crowder's going to get his 5 to 7. That leaves 6 or 7 for Davis.
But we're talking.
I think he'll do more with his targets than Crowder will.
But we're talking about a fantasy aspect there.
Yeah.
Because when I think of the hobby, I think of what have you done for me lately,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say that there's going to be. I'm going to call this now. There's going to be 3 opportunities this season for you to buy Gabriel Davis now, and to over-value sell him. Because he'll have 3 games during the season that he will absolutely go off.
3 touchdowns,
He'll have
150
3
yards.
games, 150 yards, and you're going to be able to flip him for twice to 3 times what you buy him for today.
Yeah, 100%.
This is so when I'm talking investment, I'm talking this is opportunity.
Yep.
This is me being real, looking forward, saying, look, and if Stephon Diggs does what Stephon Diggs does, he will be out 4 games. Because he will get hurt, something will happen, whatever it is. So if that's the case, you can anticipate
I love Gabriel
he's
Davis.
going to get that. So Gabriel Davis, to me, is the sneaky. You can get the best value for him. His stuff is out there. He's got some big cards that are available that don't go for the money that you would believe that they should. So good opportunity. Snatch some of his stuff up. Great opportunity to be able to sneak in and say, hey, he had a big weekend. Drop it up, put it on the market. It's gone that week. And you've easily doubled or tripled your money. That'll happen. And another guy I think that and this is going to be a gradual over the season thing, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. I believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown right now, as far as value, is probably the least value of any of the receivers that we talked about today, and probably should be closer to the values of Justin Jefferson currently, if not some of the other guys on the list, right?
Yeah.
I think we found out he's going to get opportunities.
Here's why I think he's going to be a good investment too, is because you got to remember they added DJ Chark in the offseason. That's going to be obviously their deep threat, right? Exactly. That's going to be their deep threat. You have a healthy DeAndre Swift, who's obviously going to be good in the run game, but Chark is going to take a little bit of time to get used to that playbook, right? With Jared Goff throwing the ball, and then they drafted Jameson Williams. Now, he's not going to be back until probably mid to late October.
He was hurt, right?
Correct. So he's going to be good. Jameson Williams is going to be good.
He's going to be great.
Oh, he's going to be good. And we're going to be talking about him, in the coming months and even going into next season on this podcast about he's going to be one of these guys that buy low and sell quick. And that's why I think St. Brown is actually a good choice for investment because he's going to start the season on fire.
He's going to get 10, 12 targets a game.
All the targets. Yeah. And he's going to be like just up and up and up and up. And then when Jameson Williams comes back from injury, he is going to go down a little bit. So you're going to have to get that, and it's going to be a quick turnaround, a quick sell. And that's why I think he's a good investment, like you said.
And if you talk about any team in the league that addressed their needs more, I would be hard to argue that the Lions did not have the best draft this year.
Yeah.
Right? They addressed every single need that was on the top of the list. They got the best available. They got guys that are good guys, guys that had, there were, high GPAs in school and all of this stuff, everything that you want out of those guys. They drafted right. They set their defense up.
They came out and said they allowed their coaching staff to actually have input.
Yeah.
Before this, the Detroit Lions
they never
allowed their coaching staff to have input
and you could tell.
in their draft. This year they said, all right, Dan Campbell, what do you
want?
need?
Yep.
What do you need to be successful? And he said, this, and this. And they went out there and got this, and this.
Yep.
They got everything they need. So yeah, I think the Detroit Lions are a team to look out for.
Like I would, if you could get their win total over 7, I would bet that immediately because I would think that they could win 7 games.
Who in that division scares you?
Green
Bay Packers?
No, the team that I think is the sneakiest of them all is probably the Bears.
No.
And the reason I think the Bears could be sneaky because they have playmakers on the team that if they put it together at the same time could go out and beat a team they're not supposed to beat.
But there's not a team taking
No.
Green Bay because Green Bay just lost Davante Adams.
Yep.
We're all wondering what they're going to do.
And not making this list, since you mentioned that, is Alan Lazard, just really quick.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard was a guy that I was going to put on this list, but I didn't. He's another very, very low risk investment on a guy that probably is going to see the ball 90 times this year.
Christian Watson's going to be the guy in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So, but my point I'm trying to make is nobody in that division scares you.
No.
Nobody's out there where you're like, they're going to run away with it.
Yeah.
This gives Detroit the opportunity this year. They had a good defense last year.
This could be an 8-9 win division.
Yeah. And win it with 9 wins, make it into the playoffs, and now you got a different story because you never know what happens.
And I'm sorry, Bears fans, but it's not going to happen. They literally had a good receiver in Allen Robinson. They let him walk.
They did.
He's on the Rams now, going to win another championship.
I do like
possibly.
Mooney.
I know, but they didn't add anybody else.
He
You
just-
saw Fields last year, right? And they added nobody. And I think their backup running back is better than their starting running back. Khalil Herbert, I like him better than Dave Montgomery.
And I agree with you. I think that they're studs. Let's see what that coaching staff does. Let's see what happens this year from the jump with that coaching staff. Right?
Yeah, I saw his mechanics look better. Let's light the media world on fire.
Yeah, well, Ohio State kid, it's gonna happen. Any quarterback from Ohio State, if he does something, if he
I'm so mad that I drafted him one league.
if he had a runny nose and he, got seen on
Wide
camera, they
receiver,
would have it.
quarterback, never.
Yeah,
So
but that's definitely one. And then this is going off of football, so now we're done with football. But real quick, Jeter Downs called up. I said it last week. I said, watch for the Red Sox to trade Bogarts. Jeter Downs would be the guy to get some time. He's definitely the guy coming up to shortstop. I think we all know that Marcelo Mayer or Blaze Jordan are the guys of the future. But Jeter Downs, very nice player. He could turn out to be a big deal. I would love for him to because of his name. Coming up to the big leagues. Jarren Duran came up again last week. His stuff is grossly underpriced. This card right here, I'm showing you this exact card. You can buy it for $125 right now. Bowman First, PSA 10, auto for $125 of the guy that's probably going to finish the season playing shortstop for the Red Sox. Incredible investment opportunity. You can buy his raw autos anywhere from $50 to $75. Go out and snatch yourself some up. Not a lot of graded stuff on the market for him. There are some bigger cards that are available too. Refractors to $4.99, under $500. Those are good investment pieces for you guys.
And so that's what, before we get off the investment portion, my portion of this, now that the PSA just dropped it to $30 on the bulk submissions,
Yep.
prime time to start grabbing these baseball products. I know we usually send all of our baseball to BGS and get our 9.5s and we're happy with it. But you know what a 9.5 does and what a PSA 10 does?
Yep.
It's about 3 times the difference in price. So it's a great time to go out and buy as many of these Bowman prospects of these guys that you think are going to hit. You could get them for $20, $25, $30
Yep.
of their first autos. Send them off to PSA. You're going to wait 6 months. It doesn't matter. They're prospects anyways. You're not going to see them in the league for 2 to 3 years anyways. So send them off. Pay the $30. Great opportunity for investment. Even if you get 9s, you're still going to make money.
Yep.
So
whenever there's a Red Sox in the investment, you never have a comment. Never a comment.
Again, I think Jeter Downs is a good opportunity for you to make some really good money fairly quick this year. There's no reason why, and Jimmy, you've seen this before, there's no reason this isn't a $400 or $500 card by the end of the year. Unless he just absolutely falls flat on his face. But even at that, it's such a low risk investment. $125 for a Bowman First Auto PSA 10.
yeah,
How can you not jump on that?
his only issue is he plays the same position as all their other prospects.
Yeah, and you got Blaze, but he is a guy that can move. They did give him some time in the outfield. He is a guy that can move. So you could see that. He seems fairly versatile. He's fast.
Yeah.
And
And we knew
that's,
the Red Sox
you know.
were a pretender when they went out to the hot start and they got out there and everybody's like, oh, the Red Sox are playing to win it this year. No, they're terrible.
They're going to have to make some moves. I definitely think, and I hate to say it, I definitely think that the Bogarts move is going to be made. I think we're probably going to see it made sooner than later. I wouldn't actually be surprised if the move of calling up Jeter Downs wasn't being done to precurse Bogarts. I think the Red Sox will move him early in the trade rather than him being right at the end of the trade deadline. And the reason being is because they're going to make sure they get the best available pieces for him. Bogarts is probably the top 2 or 3 piece on the market if it's out there. What? Hosmer, Bogarts. Who else on the trade market is probably bigger than that? Contreras is probably number 1, right? Contreras is probably number 1.
Some teams looking for a catcher that can hit. Lead a staff.
Maybe Hendricks as an arm, falls in that top 4 or 5. So I think that the Red Sox are going to return an absolute ridiculous haul for a guy who's literally going to be a rental. He is a rental for sure because he's going to be tough to negotiate a long-term deal for him because Bogarts is going to want to get paid because he didn't take that extension and has played well enough that he should get paid.
Red Sox are 13th in the power league.
They are.
The sixth American League team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be in.
But we talked about the American League, that the top end of the American League is so far ahead of everything else in the American League. You could take and put 10 National League teams in there. So, guys, that is it for us today for the Game Day Huddle. We are here each and every week with you guys. 11 a.m. Pacific on YouTube and in the Game Day Facebook group. JF will be on in just a little bit. Jay, what are we running today?
Singles and slabs today.
Singles and slabs will be coming up. And then Johnny Rip will be off tonight. I will come at you guys with the show. We haven't decided what that's going to be yet, but we will. We'll get that up there. And then baseball fans, tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Pacific on Whatnot, Game Day LV. I will be running baseball breaks, value baseball breaks for you guys, stuff that starts at $1. You guys can get in, have some fun, chase some of those prospects, rookies, like O'Neal Cruz, in that product and get in there and do it. And then one last thing I want to mention really quick, the Father's Day packs that came out this week, Seiya Suzuki's first rookie was in there.
Hey-o.
So Suzuki had his first rookie card in the Father's Day. So if you're a baseball guy and you're looking for a Suzuki, might be sneaky to grab one of those before people realize that they're in there because Suzuki's still making noise with Chicago.
Yep.
He's definitely one of those prospects that he's here to last. Suzuki's going to be a big name Cub for a while. So, anyways, guys, that's it for us today. Good to have the Godfather back on.
Yeah.
Thanks, boys.
And with that,
let's go Monster hunting.
let's go.
Go.
See